And people have been wondering, these aren't coming from Kalshi, but this is reputable. I mean, this stuff is coming right from the Sharps from Vermilion. As you know, Kenny, they don't sleep. I was going to say, well, they're losing sleep. They don't sleep to begin with. So stay tuned. About to hit send on what just came across my desk again. Meanwhile, win a 4-pack of tickets to the fan night at Cleveland State Basketball on Thursday. Some of the Sharps might be there for this. January 15th, 7 p.m. at the Wolstein Center. Ken Carman, Anthony Lima will be there. You can get tickets at csuvikings.com/tickets. Enter the word GREEN, GREEN, by the end of this hour at 923thefan.com to get registered.
I'm getting actually nervous. Can I share this with you real quick before we go back to the whole, not to the misery thing. We're done with the misery thing. Going back to the coaches with the thing, I want to get the Florio going. Florio 3, by the way, from yesterday on Baskin and Phelps. Everybody is getting sick, and I haven't been sick all year, and I'm worried. Because now I'm just waiting on the day where it happens. Because the thing I'm jealous of you about, you get sick, you don't lose your voice. I get sick, my voice just goes away, and that's it.
The late-night drinking used to do it to my voice. The partying all weekend.
Yeah, but
remember,
you late-night drink all the time now.
Back in the day. Like in social settings. When you're at home,
well, you would get the nasal drip, and maybe that affected your voice.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay, sure. We had to have, I think wrestling was canceled yesterday. Like, everybody's just getting sick. I'm like, no, I don't want to get sick. I got the basketball game next Thursday.
Got too much going on here, Kenny. Running yourself ragged.
Everybody's getting...
And they say the Cleveland media is weak.
I spent a lot of time in bed last week. I caught up on some sleep, brother. I had to go down. All right, yesterday, Mike Florio had this to say about the Browns coaching search, Pro Football Talk, on Baskin and Phelps.
We don't know what a dysfunctional team is going to do. A properly functioning team would be at the front of the line to try to hire John Harbaugh, period. And I'd like to think that the decision to make Kevin Stefanski the fall guy for the disastrous and dysfunctional Deshaun Watson trade and contract, I'd like to think they had a plan for upgrading above Kevin Stefanski and that they have someone in mind who would be willing to take that job. Because frankly, if I have options, I'm not taking that job. I'm not going to work for the Browns. No way, no how. And the Browns need someone that the fans will feel good about, not just because the Browns need them to renew their season tickets. I think this move was about the inevitable PSL prices that are going to come out. Unless you swing for the fences and bring in a big name, an established name that's going to cause people to believe things will change, even if they don't, you need them to think things will change. So if they don't already have somebody else in mind, they need to get after Harbaugh immediately.
The PSL show, when they're official, is a show that I'm not looking forward to. Because there's going to be some consternation because they probably will be very expensive. I don't think that this was done because of PSLs, because if you were doing this because of PSLs, you would have tried to make everybody happy and got rid of both of them. And then it would have just been for fans, and that's it. I do think that they had an idea what they wanted to do. I don't think that idea is going to be a very popular one with Browns fans. But if John Harbaugh becomes a possibility, then I think that John Harbaugh becomes a guy that obviously is going to make a lot of people excited. Ross Tucker was asked about it yesterday on what the Browns actually have to offer a guy like John Harbaugh.
Now the Ravens' job is the best job. You have a MVP quarterback in his prime. But for the other ones, it's such a complicated question. Like, I need to see in front of me all of the different draft choices. I think that the Browns fare very well there. I need to see the cap space. Obviously, ownership matters. I think quarterback matters a great deal. Young talent on the roster matters a great deal. So what's fascinating about that is that there are areas where I think Cleveland's probably the top, and then other areas not so much. The one thing they do offer John Harbaugh that these other openings cannot is the ability to play the Ravens and Lamar Jackson twice a year.
That was Ross Tucker yesterday afternoon. Ross Tucker makes a hell of a point there. Yet I would say that a name like John Harbaugh, these are big names. I think it's the big name that gets the fans back. I think it's the big name that gets the fans going again on your side. I think that you might need a big name to get some understanding of Andrew Berry. I want to know if that's true. 216-474-0092. Do you need a big name to get back on board? Because, guys, this is going to play out. You know the way that this is going to play out. If they hire Tommy Rees, you guys are going to be nonplussed, or you're going to be angry about it. Why did you even bother getting rid of Kevin Stefanski then? If they hire Dan Pitcher, was a name that I guarantee 90% of Browns fans heard for the first time yesterday. Yeah. If they were to hire Dan Pitcher, I think you're going to have more of the same.
They'll have the pitcher forks out.
If they were to hire the...
Sorry. Owen's not here to enjoy that. Come on.
If they were to hire the name that you brought up at the end of the show yesterday, that
Nate Steeplechase.
It's Nate Scheelhaus.
Looks like Steeplechase.
Which you weren't supposed to say it on the air, but since you did.
Well, it's funny you said that. Peter Schrager yesterday. Another name with some legit buzz is Rams assistant Nate Scheelhaus, who interviewed with Jacksonville and Tampa Bay last year for OC jobs a year ago. He's 35.
That's not going to make people very excited, and they're going to think more of the same. If you want to get people on the same...
People affiliated with Iowa State, pretty excited.
What? I didn't say anything about that.
I mean, look at his background.
Listen, someone calls me, I answer the call. That's how it works.
But wouldn't that be crazy if he ended up a head coach in the NFL ahead of Matt Campbell? And Matt definitely, how many teams?
Well, Matt's turned down.
Right, how many teams?
The $65 million thing was not true.
That was not true, yeah.
But there were other... I'm not going to say his business. You can't get me in trouble.
We going to the spring game?
What's this we stuff? You keep talking the way you're talking. It's just going to be this side over here.
Well, if I get you the jet.
You better button it up.
PJ, Happy Valley.
You better call Art Broseph then. We might be sitting on opposite ends of the stadium. Tell you that right now. 216-474-0092. Does it need to be a name? And if it ends up being John Harbaugh, obviously people are going to be celebrating the streets. Is the name Jim Schwartz big enough for you?
That's the one. I think that name will continue.
To me is the realistic one.
Especially because I'm telling you right now, this shouldn't be I don't think this should be the first priority, because the head coach is what matters the most. But we just had one of the best defensive units in all of football. And man, if we had a good offense, I bet you our statistics might end up being might have gone ahead of Houston, because you're playing with leads and you're not. Their defensive numbers were still dominant, and you never had a lead. But I'm telling you, if Schwartz doesn't get this head coaching job, I kind of think he's not going to be the defensive coordinator next year. And it is something to look at.
Well, he's still under contract. Now, in the words of Kevin Stefanski, we want volunteers, not hostages. If you make Jim Schwartz head coach, he's 59. You could still realistically see Tommy Rees as head coach at 33. What's unfair to Tommy Rees is that he's an offensive assistant on one of the worst offenses in the NFL over the last couple of years. Statistically, I think last year they were actually right there with the 1999 Browns offense, which was a literal expansion team. So you put Tommy Rees on this, I don't think it's going to get very many people on the same page you. Now, that isn't really the only reason you should make a decision, is just to get the fans on your side. I get that side of it. But right now, it's every move they make comes with cynicism, comes with questions, lack of trust. If you took Jim Schwartz and made him the head coach, it is results-based, guys. It's not process-based with fans. On that end, they would see a good defense, charismatic leader, guy who knows how to communicate to the fan base, who obviously knows how to communicate to his players. I think some people may question the discipline because of everything that happened last year, or everything that made it happen on Sunday, which is silly, but I got a bunch of emails going, why are they getting all these penalties and stuff like that? And the dancing and the celebrating after they didn't have a very great, not as good as they had the year before, a very great 2024. Like, there will be all those questions that are thrown in there. But honestly, they will be all ancillary. They're not the main thing. The main thing would be that Jim Schwartz would be the head coach, and I think a lot of people here really like Jim Schwartz. He's the most realistic of the big names. But you go and you get some of these other guys, and I'm going to try to keep an open mind, but if the best thing I can say is I'm going to try to keep an open mind, I think a lot of people are going to be thinking we're on our way to a disaster. 216-474-0092. Mike in Stow, you're first up on the fan. Hello.
Hey, guys. Good morning. It's been a minute. How you guys doing?
Not
Happy New Year.
Too bad, Mike. Thank you very much. Same to you. Wait a minute. It's January 8th. You're not allowed to say Happy New Year anymore. But final time.
I haven't talked to you guys. I'm sorry. I haven't talked to you guys. I'm just being official. I apologize.
It's okay, buddy. You go right on ahead.
All right. So, I'm going to just let everybody know that they can quit dreaming about John Harbaugh. Let's look at that from a coach's perspective. This is a guy who was 18 years in a stable franchise. And I will say this about John. He was great in his first 10. He hasn't been so great in his last 8. I'll leave that out of it. But the chance of us thinking we're going to get him, let's put it in perspective. Like I said, from a coach's thought. We just fired a coach who was considered, and I'm not getting into this whole coach of the year thing. I get it. A lot of people respect that award. But from a coach's perspective, he was chosen best in his field out of 32 guys twice out of 6 years. He dealt with a lineup that we know what happened with the trade. We understand what Andrew Berry did not do with his first 5 drafts, which is much at all. He finally succeeded in his last one. So now we've fired that coach that had that success, although he hasn't had it the last 2 years. But we all can agree the offensive line, the wide receivers were probably the biggest reason this team was terrible this year, not necessarily the coaching. And now we want to think that we're going to get John Harbaugh to come to this mess when we've got a general manager that's still here after all of that, and maybe he's here 1 year. Well, guess what happens? What happens if Barry stinks this year in the draft? You think he's going to be back? No. So Harbaugh takes the job.
Well, now, wait a minute. Now, on the surface, I think all that's correct. But if we're talking about stability, like, one of the things I've been bothered by, and I even got cross with my own bosses over at 8 for a second because they're going, well, we're going through another coaching search. I go, guys, it's been 6 years. It's been 6 years. He got 6 years, and the last 2 years he's won 8 games. Like, that's not very good. They kept him. We're arguing about stability. It's not our version of stability because they're not winning, but in the NFL circles, that's stable.
Ken, did we go into this season with a roster and an approach to try to win this year? Honestly, do we really think that as objective fans, do we really think that this team approached this year with a let's go win attitude, or I'm not going to use that tank word because we didn't do very good at the end of it. But I think that was more likely our approach. We were looking for a draft, meaning we knew we were going to be good, so we were looking at our draft pick a lot more than we were trying to win. So we didn't do enough. But I just don't see why in the world anybody would think that and I'm not to mention, I didn't even mention, who's our owner, Jimmy Haslam? What a clown show. There's no way that John Harbaugh, coming from that stable franchise, was even going to consider us. So all you fans and anybody else who talks in the station wants to think that, think again.
Well, wait a minute now. What about Mark Davis, who dresses like a giant Cabbage Patch Kid?
Hey, you know what? Dress all you want. And I'll tell you what, you guys have mentioned one thing, and I didn't want to fire Kevin. I should have fired both of them.
Sounds like it.
Leaving one in place just makes us look ridiculous. It's like, well, we're not really sure what we want to do. To anybody coming in with any kind of a mentality and an understanding of what a franchise looks like when it works well, they're going to stay the heck away from us like the plague. So I just want to
I guess we should just give up then. Let's fold it. Let's move the team.
No, I don't think Mike's saying that, but I think he's saying the John Harbaugh thing.
You've got to try, though.
You can try to get John Harbaugh, but at the same time, I agree with what Mary Kay said. Do you want to be turned down by John Harbaugh and look bad?
Well, you got to try.
You already look bad.
The fans just don't get it. The fans are impatient. They just want to win now, and they couldn't stand that we lost this year and say, oh, it's all Kevin's fault. Well, guess what? Wait till the mess next year. So, look, here's what I got to say about the coaching. I'm not saying give up on John Anthony. I'm not saying don't try. You got to try. You've got to show everybody that you do your best. That's what Haslam does. That's why we got in this Sean mess, because he's got to show to me, oh, I can do it. He's going to throw his money out there, but it's not going to matter to John enough. I really believe that. Schwartz is probably the best answer because he is the guy that understands that team. I don't want to see a complete redo. I just don't. And I've heard some names on the station, David Shaw and
well, Mike, I got to let you go because I got to tell you, Mike, and thank you for the call. We just took a call from Mike in Stow. A lot of people hated it just because he basically told us all that we have zero chance at all. He's a Browns fan. We have zero chance at all to get John Harbaugh. Now, this is the difference in me and you, is that what did you think of his call?
It's fine.
You agreed with him?
Yeah, I agree with him.
See, I have a better bedside manner. Is that, yes, I always couch it with, I want us to get John Harbaugh. I don't really think we have a chance to get John Harbaugh. I didn't lie to you. I didn't flip-flop. I didn't do a look over here. I just went, I'd love for the Browns to get John Harbaugh. I don't think we're going to get him, though, but I'd love for the... You see how that works? You see how it works? It's like if I was a doctor and I went up to Tone and I went, You're going to be going to Disney World next week. You got 3 weeks to live, but you're going to Disney World next week. Like, I could always do that. And you're not even a Disney guy.
Not yet. It could be.
When are you going?
Could be soon.
Thinking about it?
I think we're a couple years away.
They're still too young.
Yeah.
You want to get some mileage out of that before you do it. He had a bad bedside manner. Mike and Stow did. The thing that the reason I have to agree with him overly so many times over is that he's going to be 64. John Harbaugh is going to be 64 next year. This is not a situation where you look at this and go, all right, I know that they can create some salary cap space. They can create a little bit more. They got a little bit of flexibility. Look at your quarterback situation you've been in here over the last couple of years. He knows this. He's game planning against these guys. He may come in and tell them a bunch of things that they don't want to hear. Again, I go back to what Pat Kerwin said yesterday. Pat Kerwin said this is a guy who's going to be interviewing the owners, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
The Browns have to look at it and go, do we really have a realistic chance to get this guy? Like, going back to what Mary Kay said, I thought it was a great point. You don't want to be putting it out there publicly that, hey, we took a big swing at John Harbaugh and we weren't able to go out and get him. Everybody would immediately believe that, yeah, you don't have a chance at him. But he's 64. He'll be 64. If you have other possible ready-made situations, fine. And if you're a Browns fan, you can look at it and go, you know what, John? You had a ready-made situation. What did you do with it? Which is some of the alternative arguments that I'm getting on that side. I don't think you're going to get the chance to get him because I don't think it says... I think their world is different from ours. I do think that they try to preach stability and they go, guys, we're not as dysfunctional as you think we are. There are a lot of things that we agreed on. He got 6 years to be here. We're keeping a general manager. Da. Yeah, and all that stuff is great and stable and not for a 64-year-old guy who's won a Super Bowl before. If he's going anywhere else, he wants to prove and stick it up that they can win a Super Bowl.
Look what his brother did. What did his brother do? Obviously, there were other circumstances.
Well, he sent Connor Stallions to...
Well, he probably scouted the next, crop of NFL jobs. But what did he do? He didn't go to a place that didn't have a quarterback. He went to a place that had somebody that we were all like, man, seems like he should be winning more. Seems like Justin Herbert with that skill set. He can run. He can make every throw, cannon arm. Come on. Well, what are we missing here? How are they not winning? And they still might not do any damage. They might be one and done this year. But his brother was going to take a job that had a quarterback. That right now, Shador may be so much better than I think he is. But he hasn't put enough on tape for any coach to be like, sign me up. That's the job I want. I'm in demand. I don't care. I'm going to Cleveland because of that. That's just nobody's played well enough to warrant that.
I would like to bring him in just to ask. I'd like to pick his brain for 8 hours and ask him what he would probably do with the franchise if I were Jimmy Haslam, because I just don't think that Andrew Berry's out of the woods. So, I do think that they fully intend to keep him this year. But I have a bad feeling we're going to end up in this quagmire again next year, and it might cost us another head coach. By the way, if you missed a moment of the show, you can use the Rewind feature on the free Odyssey app, powered by Integrated Restoration, your local experts in fire, water, and storm disaster restoration. But if you're 64, you'd rather go to a ready-made scenario. However, I say that all the time. What about if you're 59? It's just a 5-year difference. What does Jim Schwartz want to do? Well, I think that everybody knows that they're beating down the door for John Harbaugh. Are they beating down the door for Jim Schwartz? Had one of the top-ranked defenses in the NFL back in 2023. Survey said
no.
Not
one interview. Yeah.
Had not such a great defense in 2024. Still better than the average defense, I would assume. What were they doing in 2024? They were not going after him. 2025, I'm only hearing about the Browns and Jim Schwartz.
I know.
So if you want to be a head coach again, here's your opportunity. Jim Schwartz and John Harbaugh are in major differences in their careers. Now, Jim Schwartz, he's an egotistical guy. He's a football coach. I would expect him to be. Jim Schwartz is going to sit there and go, why does he get all this when I don't? Why? This is a defense in Cleveland that we have constructed. I've gotten the very best out of the very best player this entire time. Why can't I get any of this? I've gotten great play out of Grant Delpit, where people at the very beginning of his career thought they could go one way or another. The guy went through a foot injury, came out. He's looking great because I know how to put him in the best position. I know how to put Denzel Ward in the best position. I know how to put Mahmoud Diabate in the best position. Aiden Huntington is able to come in and contribute because of me. He might be able to say that.
How about Malik Collins?
He might be saying Malik Collins. I put Malik Collins in the best
statistically.
I saved Andrew Berry's job because of what I did with Malik Collins. Didn't say it had to make sense. Said he might be thinking it. This could be an opportunity for him to go, I'm going to stick it up where for everybody. This is a football team that I can turn into winners. This is a football team that I can take this defense. Everybody loves defense. At least that's what fans love to say. I have a defense that's great. I know we can add to the offense. I have a defense that if I can just make the offense a little bit more complimentary, we can be an 8, 9, 10 win football team next year. Now, that's not my personal belief. I still think you're a ways away. But that's something that Jim Schwartz could sell to himself and sell to the Cleveland Browns. And he's probably, in his own way, done that. He's been in the building for 3 years. You don't think there's no conversations with Jimmy Haslam? There's no conversations with JW. There's no conversations with Andrew. There's no conversations with anybody else in the front office. Cat Hickman, Glenn Cook. Go ahead.
Especially because they're the top performing unit in the division. Mike Tomlin said that last week. A couple weeks ago, he's like, as I've said, they're the best unit in the division, offense or defense, anybody. Well, they're one of the best in the NFL. So if you're Jimmy Haslam, you've been looking for success anywhere that you can find it. I imagine you're picking his brain. I imagine he picks, honestly, I imagine when talking about other quarterbacks around the NFL that they could potentially get, whether it's Mac Jones or Malik Willis, I bet you Jimmy and Andrew have had him in to say, what do you think about this guy? What do you think about this guy? Mm-hmm. Why would you not? You're not doing your job if you're not. That's a guy that's in the building that can offer you all sorts of stuff.
Now, what do you say if you're Tommy Rees? Because I'd be turning right around if I'm Tommy Rees, and I'm saying Jim's one of the best in the business. I'd put Jim in charge of the defense. This is what I would say if I was Tommy Rees. I'd play it out for a second. You're 33 years old. Lima is probably right to believe. I don't believe any of that stuff about Michigan or Alabama or any of that other crap that's out there.
Oh, he was a head coaching top candidate?
Did he get looks at it from other places last year? Wasn't there some rumblings last year?
It was his name is always out there.
So you're 33 years old.
He had some interviews.
You're 33 years old, 34 years old. You're young. You're the right age of offensive guys that they want, of that what a football team would want. You go to Jimmy and you say, in your meeting today, defense is great. That's why people are frustrated. This is a championship-level defense. You have one of the all-time greatest defensive players of history playing on that defense. Let me do what I've always wanted to do with this offense. With this offense has been, I've seen your tweets over the last 6 years. Maybe he feels that way. Guys, this offense has been stuck in the past. We're doing 12 personnel and we're doing all this other crap. Why have we been tying one hand behind our backs this entire time? Let me work with Andrew. Let's roll our sleeves up and let's go after the real pieces that's going to make this football team great. Well, what are you going to do with Shedeur? Here's what I'm going to do with Shedeur. We might not be in a position where we can draft a guy really highly, so this is what I'm going to do with Shedeur. You lay out what you're going to do with him to make him comfortable, what you've already done with him to make him comfortable, some of the things that where he's grown, where radio show hosts don't even know what they're talking about. You can do all that if you want. And then you say, I want to keep Jim exactly where he is. In fact, I want to let him control the entire defense. We'll do it the way that Sean McVay did it. I'll go sit on the equipment thing and go over and talk with Shedeur while he runs the defense. Empower Jim to run the defense. He's already contractually obligated for another year. And I would say that Jimmy Haslam, if he doesn't want to make him the head coach, he doesn't seem to want to move on from a lot of people, if you've noticed this. If he's making these guys avail, or if he's wanting to interview these guys to be head coaches, you can tell Jimmy, I think, is doing this, kind of gritting his teeth, making these changes. And you could just say this is a horrible setup altogether, and that the path they're going down is the primrose path. You could be pointing that out, Lima. But I think that what Jimmy's thinking is that he doesn't want to make a whole lot of changes. Fine. You can go with this young guy, and he might be protected by what? Good defense. He might be protected by what? Well, you're going to have to move on from the special teams coach. Let me get to Jeff and Willoughby. You're next up on the Fan. Hello, Jeff.
Good morning, guys.
Hi, Jeff.
You're overthinking this, man. The fans, there's one, and there's 1A, and then there's all the rest. And one is Harbaugh. I don't care. Don't speculate what Harbaugh's thinking or what the Browns are thinking. That's the guy you go after. That's Coach One. Instant change of culture, instant credibility.
Well, I don't disagree with that. What's the problem?
I'm saying you guys are going in all these different directions about these coaches. focus on Harbaugh.
What if he's not interested in me, though? I got to go in all those other directions, though. What if he's not interested?
Listen to me. I'm telling you, I'm telling from the fans' perspective, we want one focus, and that's Harbaugh. And if Harbaugh's not there, then the focus goes to 1A, and that's Schwartz. And that's the end of the discussion. Get one of those two guys in the building, 1 and 1A.
Well, how long have you been listening to the show then here, Jeff?
About an hour, and I hear all kinds of stuff. What I'm talking about is the speculation as to why not Harbaugh would come here. And I get that's your job. I understand that's what you guys do, speculate. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying you don't know what is in Harbaugh's head, whether he wants a quarterback, what his brother did. All of that.
Wait, use some common sense. I mean, why would, at his age, why would he want to go to a team without a ready-made quarterback?
I don't know. It's not my job to figure out. It's not your job.
But you do know. Come on. We have the commonality of the English language and some understanding of common logic. Like, we understand that's the most important position in sports. That's what you need to do. Why did we lose this year? We had the best defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL. Why did we lose? Don't have a quarterback.
You don't know what's in Harbaugh's head. Harbaugh might be the kind of guy that says, number one, I don't care who's there. I'm going to make that a better team. I'll do it my way and figure it out. We don't know what's in his head.
I agree with that, but I got to be ready for the other scenarios here.
Well,
that's all.
Of course, they have to be ready for the other scenario.
Uh-huh.
But by speculating, Harbaugh's never going to come here because of this or this or that. Wrong way to think. You got to go in there and say, we're going to get this guy. And again, I'm talking from the fans' perspective. We don't care what it takes or what you have to say to this guy. We want Harbaugh. If we don't get Harbaugh, 1A is Schwartz, right? That's the guy.
Yeah.
He's in the building. You got his ear. That's the guy you got to secure if you can't secure Harbaugh. And with Harbaugh, you got to get him now. You can't wait for Friday or Monday.
He's already said, and Diana Rossini said this, and I don't know if we put this out. And Jeff, thank you for the call. Diana Rossini reported, and I think that Mary Kay might have mentioned something about it too, so I want to give credit where it's due, that he is going to wait until next week, which means could he be waiting on one team to lose possibly?
You and I have had the same kind of thought about that.
Because I thought it was Dolphins no matter what yesterday from the stuff I was hearing, because I think somebody reported that, hey, they're asking some of these people what they think of the general managers, what they think of the head coach spot, and it's like, okay, Dolphins, but if it's like, if the Bills get rolled over the weekend, you're going to a place that has Josh Allen in the AFC.
Well, you would think that any of the Bills stuff, and it would have to be totally behind the scenes. You couldn't let that get out.
If Jeff, I agree. Number one should be you owe it to yourself to ask. I know they don't want to look bad. You owe it to yourself to ask. You owe it to your fans to ask. Jeff and Willoughby is right. You need to try to go after John Harbaugh, even to pick his brain, even to think even if you go after an 8-hour interview, you go, boy, this guy's really lost it. like what TA is saying and things like that. Like he's not with it anymore. This is